Iolite is a gorgeous stone, and it's one that not as many people are familiar with as something like, say, amethyst. In fact, Iolite and amethyst are both often used as a substitute for sapphire. It's a gorgeous blue to purple tone, depending on the stone that you get. It's a beautiful range. I'm Patty. I'm a jewelry designer here at Fire Mountain Gems and Beads. And today we're going to be making these earrings that use several different types of iolite. We have these beautiful polished cabochons. We have these great faceted teardrops. And then we have these little itty bitty 2mm round beads, all in this particular earring.
Get our email newsletter for beading news, sale announcements, new product announcements, and more. Link is in the description below.
There are links to all kinds of wonderful products in that description box below. So the first thing we're going to do in making this earring is set the cabochon stone in the setting that you see here. To do that, I am going to use some embelly jelly. This is to pick up the cabochon. I've actually got it set in a little toothpick here. It comes with a larger stick, but I like the toothpick sometimes. And I like to work on a hard surface when doing a setting like this. So we'll grab our sterling setting here and use the embelly jelly. Okay, so the cab is in the setting now. And let me show you how to close a prong setting like this. We'll use a bezel roller, can see there. And I'm just going to hold one side of the setting still with my finger and roll one of the prongs right against the cab. Not too tight. And then flip it around and do a prong on the opposite side. You're just going to roll it in to the cabochon. And the reason that we do opposite sides is so it doesn't get skewed to one side kind of funny. And then I'm going to give it a quarter turn and do one side there and another quarter, or really turn it all the way around and do one on the opposite side of the last one. And then we can go ahead and push in all of them now that we have 4 corners done. And you're just rolling them up. Okay. Now, all of the prongs are securely fastened around the cabochon. I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. And then let's work on some of these bottom elements. So we'll go ahead and set our faceted half-drilled element into this little up eye. It's a peg with a cup. And we'll do that using a piece of scrap clay and a little bit of wire. This is a 24 gauge wire, very thin, and that's important. I'll show you why in a moment. So we'll take the half-drilled element and we'll just set it into the clay with the hole pointing straight up. That's really important. And that gives it a base so when we glue the peg in, it stays still for drying. Okay, the next thing we'll do is grab a mixing surface and some glue. I like this DevCon 5-minute epoxy for this purpose. Go ahead and take your fine gauge wire and just get a little drop of that. And you're going to put it right down into the hole of your half-drilled element here. And half-drilled just means that the drill only goes halfway through that bead. So now I've got plenty of epoxy in there, and I've kept it inside. If you get any on the outside, clean that up with a little alcohol. And then the easiest way to pick these up is to get some chain nose pliers and just drop that right on to the element and make sure that it's standing straight up, and then let that dry for at least 5 minutes. I like to let it dry for about 10, but I have one that's already completed. Okay, so that's ready to thread on, but look, we've got all of these little 2mm Iolite beads that we have to make wire wrap loops for. So let me show you how to do that. So you're going to thread on your Iolite bead. Now these 2mm beads don't have a very big hole, so I actually use 26 gauge head pins to do this. There we go. Let it fall all the way down. And then grab your chain nose pliers and maybe 2mm up from the bead, you're going to make a 90-degree bend. You have to leave a little room to wrap. Just want to make sure I get that just right. There we go. Just like that. Then you're going to grab your round nose pliers, and just with the very tip, you don't need a very big loop, just like that, you're going to wrap the wire around. There you go. And then clamp the loop. Clamp the loop just like that. And then you're going to wrap all the way down until you hit the bead. Then you're going to use your flush cutters to cut off the tail. And there you have your little dangle. Now for these earrings, you're actually going to make 30 of those dangles. So here we are with all of our elements made. I made up all the rest of the dangles, and we're ready to make the wire element here, the loop, that we're going to thread all of those onto and attach to this link with the cabochon in it. So to do that, I need about 6 inches of sterling silver wire. About there. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. Okay. And then in order to make the loop, I'm going to use the largest size of these Weber mandrel pliers. This is the jumbo size and round. And it looks smaller than the loop, of course, but we're using half hard wire, so it's going to spring out. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap that around, but it's going to make a bigger circle than the pliers, which is what I want. Like that. We can kind of work that around a little bit. And in a moment, we're going to make a wire wrap loop up there, but for now, I'm just kind of shaping the wire a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and thread on all of the elements. So first, I'm going to start on the short side here. I'm just going to hold the long tail like a stopper with my fingers so nothing comes off the other end. I'm going to start threading on 15 of these little Iolite beads. And so you can actually thread them right off the table. It's so much easier than trying to pick them up. So there's one. And just keep going until you get 15. Okay, now I've got 15 of these little 2mm Iolite beads strung on. I'm going to pick up my faceted half drilled bead, put that on, and then we'll string another 15 on the other side. Now I have 15 of the little Iolite rounds on either side of the half drilled bead. I'm ready to close up the top here. So I'll be real careful not to let any of those fall off. And I'll just find where I want the top of the circle to be. And it's actually a little off circular, and that's okay. I made it more of a little teardrop shape. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, and right at the top, I'm going to take the longer tail and bend that straight up. Just like that. And then with the shorter tail, I'm going to take my round nose pliers right at the juncture where it's going to wrap around the longer tail. And for stability, I'm going to wrap it around the round nose part way. So we kind of start that bend and then pull them together tightly and just push that around. So we have it bent around once. And then I'm going to take the tail and wrap around one more time. We don't want a bunch of wraps on this one. And it's using half hard wire, it's a little bit harder. So I'm going to use my chain nose pliers to kind of finish that loop around. So it's nice and tight and at a place where I can cut off that little bit of tail. Just like that. Okay, so those are nice and secure on there. Now we need to make the wire wrap loop that will attach to the link setting here. So I'm going to go ahead and use my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to leave a few millimeters of space because I want to be able to wrap there. And I'm going to bend that up toward me in a 90-degree angle, just like that. Then I'll use my round nose plier, put it right in the angle there, and wrap around. I'm just making a small loop. Like that. And before I close up that loop, I have to put the link setting on. So I'm going to thread on the link setting so it orients forward. So in order to do that, hold the right side facing you, the up side facing you, and the link setting should be facing down when you put it on. Then when it comes up and around the loop, let me open that just a little bit. It is facing front. Then I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and clamp that loop. And I'm going to wrap until I hit those wraps at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and clip off the tail. And I'll use the chain nose pliers to finish off that loop and to make everything nice and tight, just like that. There you go. So all that's left to finish this earring is to add one of these great fishhook ear wires. So to do that, just open it up. Always open them sideways. Thread the link on. Close it up. And you have your gorgeous Iolite earring. Isn't that so pretty? Well, thank you so much for being with us here today for this video. I hope you learned something great and you'll go forward and make your own jewelry. And if you want to be first on all of the specials, sales, new products, be sure to sign up for our email newsletter. The link is in the description box below. We'll see you next time.